Je vous remercie tous aujourd'hui d'être présents. Je vous remercie chaleureusement pour ces moments si importants pour nos doctorants de soutenance. Merci de me faire l'honneur de présider ce jury. Je remercie vraiment les rapporteurs pour leur travail aujourd'hui et bien sûr le directeur de cette thèse, Maurice Thévenet, pour l'accompagnement de ce doctorant. Donc, en termes d'organisation, Monsieur ELIA, vous avez maintenant 20 minutes pour nous présenter votre travail et ensuite nous laisserons la parole à vos rapporteurs. Je prendrai la parole et enfin votre directeur de thèse. Sachant que vous avez maintenant 20 minutes et je vous informerai si vous dépassez.
Très bien. Merci, Madame la Présidente. Donc, dear President and members of the jury, professors, dear colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really honored to defend my DBA thesis entitled Leadership of Digital Transformation, the case of CEOs in the banking industry. For our presentation today, we are going to start with the context of the research, followed by a briefing about the literature review, the methodology that we used, the results, of course, the discussion, as well as the managerial recommendations and the limitations of the research. If you allow me to introduce myself for a little bit, my name is Jean-Elia, also known as John. I have more than 26 years of experience in the insurance and the financial sector in general, with international groups in many countries. Since 2013, I'm the CEO of the Luxembourg insurance subsidiary of a big banking group. The subsidiary is one of the leading companies in Luxembourg, specialized in life insurance and wealth solutions for high net worth and ultra high net worth individuals, in partnership with private banks and asset managers, intermediaries as well, across 9 countries in Europe. I have, among other things, 2 passions. One is for transformations in general and digital transformation in particular, and the other one is for leadership, which derives from my bigger passion for people in general. Given my career and my current job, I had the chance to develop an extensive network of senior executives and contacts across many countries in Europe, in the Middle East, and in Africa, which gave me what is called the opportunity of the field, or the opportunity of the environment. The context of the research in today's digital world, the new technologies and the new or technology-based players are disrupting the business models of all the industries and all businesses. There are many examples in our daily lives that we know it, such as Uber, such as Amazon. This phenomenon is also similar in the financial sector, with the emergence of new players, such as fintechs, that are disrupting the incumbents, if not on their entire business model. It is definitely on their value chain that they are disintegrating or are unbundling. Consequently, these players have the advantages and the profitability of one element of the value chain without bearing the constraints of banking, like regulation and capital requirement. If we take the example of neobanks, they are taking one element of the value chain, that is payments. Facing these challenges, there is no alternative to digital transformation, as Jeff Bezos puts it. All players need to do digital transformation, otherwise they will lose market value or even disappear. For this, we wanted to further develop our knowledge and understanding about digital transformation, particularly in banking, and more notably from the leadership point of view. Leadership as a position, i.e. the where, and in this case, the answer is CEOs of the banks and nothing but the CEOs of the bank. Leadership as a person, i.e. the who, or the characteristics of the CEO, the traits, and etc. And last but not least, leadership as a process, i.e. the how and how CEOs lead, particularly in the context of digital transformation. This leads us to the research problem and question: how are these CEOs conducting digital transformation within their organizations, their banks in particular? So we opt to tackle the subject via the angle of these CEOs, who would share with us their perception, their insight, even their hindsight, and their real-life experience about the subject. This will give us the title of the thesis, Leadership of Digital Transformation. Evidently, we had further questioning about the subject. First of all, in terms of digital transformation, the questions were about the interactions with different stakeholders, such as clients, such as employees, the impact on the business model and the organizational structure. As for the leadership part, our questioning evolved around the characteristics of leadership, the contingency factors, as well as the specific role that the leader has to play in the context of digital transformation. The final objective is to humbly help the leaders in the financial industry in their journey to digital transformation. In terms of the theoretical insight or the literature review, for us to develop this understanding, we divided the literature in two chapters, one covering digital transformation and the other leadership, obviously. In the first chapter, we wanted to explain what is digital from the technical point of view in a simplified manner, in order to address an audience which could be not necessarily very knowledgeable about digital technology. Thereafter, we cover the transformation part of digital transformation, the most important part. So we go through different definitions that we compile, and then we propose a new definition of digital transformation that evolves around three axes. The first one is client experience. The second one is operational efficiency that some refer to as the employee experience. And the third one is the business model and the future of banking. Then we take these three axes, we look at digital transformation in the banking sector in particular. Again, the client experience with the interactions with the banking client, i.e. the part that they call front office, the back office for the employee experience and the operational efficiency, and the value chain. For the leadership, in the same logic, we look at definitions first of all, and then we propose a definition again for the where, the who, and the how. We look at leadership theories in terms of characteristics, in terms of styles, contingency, the transformational leadership, and the leadership of change. In terms of digital transformation, we look in the same leadership in digital transformation. We use the same logic. We look at recent literature about leadership in the context of digital transformation from the angles of the styles, the characteristics, and the role that the leader has to play in the digital transformation. The idea here is to liaise these two domains and to confront them with the field and try, humbly once again, to enrich theories. In respect of the methodology, we start with the field, a field that was so obvious, as we say in good English, a no-brainer, given the relatively easy access that we had to the CEO community, who was actually very happy to share their insights and even in some cases their vulnerability with us. This opportunity has also driven us to adopt a grounded theory method via an exploratory research based on qualitative data that one could call storytelling. The epistemology is pragmatist as defined by Professor Martinet, which is to render problematic issues more understandable. He uses the term intelligible, and formulate several proposals, pluralist proposals that are reflected in our case in the managerial recommendations or the mini guide. For the research process, we start with the preliminary interviews with leaders of the financial sector in order to test the interest of our subject and also to orientate the following phases. We saw at least 6 leaders in this phase, for instance, a regulator, a deputy CEO of a big banking group, a fintech CEO, among others. We thereafter identify our sample, 21 CEOs, again, based on several variables, in order to obtain, and this is the idea behind it, in order to obtain a maximum of opinions and maximum of insight. based on a semi-directive interview guide composed of 4 questions, un guide d'entretien, and many sub-questions and follow-up questions, of course. We conducted with these CEOs the interview. We then transcribed these recorded interviews ourselves. It's not a fun exercise, but it was definitely very useful because it enabled us to summarize, to concentrate on the main topic, and especially to identify the themes that would serve us later for the results. The thematic analysis was hence based on the analysis per interview. So we did one analysis for each interview. Analysis inter-interview, a phase in which we identify the convergence points, the divergence points, and new variables that will help us also to differentiate between the speeches of CEOs. The results, so the thematic analysis allowed us to identify 7 themes and 29 major findings that we categorize under these themes. The first one concerns the CEO's understanding of digital transformation and the necessity to review the customer experience, the employee experience, and the necessity for utmost digitalization. While saying utmost digitalization, CEOs have highlighted the fact that we need to invest only in what they call useful innovation and not in everything, not in gadgets, and that digital transformation is a world filled with opportunities, even for job creation. The second theme is based on the concrete actions that they put in place. Findings were about the necessity to have a clearly defined strategy and roadmap, beginning with the end in mind, where the bank should go digitally, and then about the need for developing a culture about digital within the organization, communicating heavily. Some speak about communicating 3 times more than before, especially internally. Here we note, just a note for the panel, that short-term transformation plans were probably by coincidence more successful than longer-term plans in the panel there is. The third theme is the one that emerged largely from the interviews. Findings show us that a reorganization is rather necessary, regardless of the model to be put in place, but the idea is to break silos and render the organization, the bank in this case, more agile. Which role have the CEOs played or should play in digital transformation? The CEO should define and would define the strategy, promote it, and most importantly, own it. We're talking about ownership, and this is a very important term for conducting a digital transformation. There's no need to master all the technologies, but there is definitely a need to know digital capabilities and what digital could do. Plus, on top of that, it could be a delightful experience, especially if it's successful, and even more when the CEO is heavily involved in the adventure. The characteristic needed for digital transformation, the leader has to be ambitious, courageous, to be able to carry the plan and defend them, like we're doing now, in front of shareholders and board of directors, but also the ability to understand and to dive into digital transformation. And if there's no technical background, to go and learn and accept the challenges. As for the style of leadership, we faced many styles that we saw in the research. The one is participative, involving everybody in the organization in the strategy, but also in the execution. There's the directive leadership, focusing more on performance and execution. And then there's the adaptive leadership, that adapts according to the contingency and according to the situation. The last theme in our findings is about leadership of digital transformation in general. The aura of the leadership is being demystified. There's more access to the leader himself or herself. Plus, there is more access for everybody to the information. The leader cannot keep the information for themselves. Nevertheless, we still need a strong leadership in order to conduct a leadership that knows the new codes, a leader that is more involved, regardless of the directive of the leadership style that they apply. For the discussion part, we have the literature review on one hand and its theories. On the other hand, we have results and findings that emerge naturally, as suggested by Glaser and Strauss, i.e. without being impacted by literature. So we oppose these theories between them, but with what we think ourselves as professionals in the field about each finding. We have the results pre-discussion, we have the results post-discussion, which we summarize in the form of a mini guide made of 5 managerial recommendations. And the first is that digital transformation is a substitution to something. It's not a complement. It comes in opposition and not in addition. It completely, as the name suggests, transforms the way in which we do business and in which we interact with stakeholders. A second recommendation is that a successful digital transformation strategy is a top-down strategy. When we have a sum of initiatives, this does not make a strategy. It does not at least make a successful digital transformation strategy. As far as the impact on the organization, we recommend Agile to apply Agile on 3 layers. The first one is Agile as a development and project management method. The second layer is Agile as a management mindset in the sense of the agility of the whole organization, and Agile as an organizational structure, i.e. Agile at scale, regardless of how big the scale is. The fourth recommendation is that a leader could not and should not delegate, or even worse, outsource digital transformation. They need to be heavily involved in this digital transformation. And last but not least, excuse me, is that in digital transformation, leadership is a key success factor. Whether it is in the traits of the leader, his or her style, whether it is their adaptation to the context and to the new ecosystem and the new world that is being developed and created. The main contributions of the thesis, a developed knowledge about digital transformation and leadership, hopefully, and of course, the managerial recommendations that we put in the form of a mini guide. Limitations are classic for a qualitative research based on a non-representative but contrasting sample. And of course, there's the constraint of time given our demanding job. This thesis took us 5 years instead of 3. We propose several research possibilities. One, to extend this work with a quantitative research in order to extrapolate results and test their relevance on a bigger scale, or not, probably they are not relevant on a bigger scale. Another one, which we will try to study very soon, it is the customer experience for high net worth individuals, for wealthy clients, particularly in private banking. We consider that they are not as good served as the retail clients, particularly in digital. Plus Agile at scale, we deem the case study that we highlighted in the research of interest, and the leadership of ESG transition, particularly in the financial sector with its constraints and its opportunity. And hopefully we will not stop here. The idea is to further develop this mini guide to turn it into a complete guide and present it to leaders in the financial sector, knowing that they are looking forward to see the results. We focus with this final slide on the main reference that we use in our research. For digital transformation, we cite many times the articles of Fitzgerald et al. And then Kane. For the customer experience, the specialist Pine and Gilmore, as well as Laurence Buddy, whom we had the opportunity to meet and work with. And Dunning is for agile methodology. On the leadership, the works of Plan and Piqueux were very useful for us for structuring the literature review on leadership theories. Professor Ternay, of course, showed us that leadership is something that is not above ground. It's not something hors-sol. And the works of Tietar, Walsh, and the birthday guide, Michel Kalika, that were very useful for us in the methodology. Thank you for your kind attention, and I look forward to answering your questions.